This is Anthony Galliano for B2B Cambodia with a tax explainer. Tax obligations for members of the board of directors and company directors. On June 20th, 2025, the General Department of Taxation released instruction number 19116, clarifying the tax obligations for board of directors and company directors, whether working in Cambodia or overseas. The instruction resolves the tax obligations and application of tax on salary and withholding tax for resident and non-resident shareholders and directors. In this instruction, the General Department of Taxation urges all directors, managers, or owners of all enterprises to thoroughly examine and effectively implement the instruction from the date of signing. This instruction is welcome, as there have been variations of application of shareholder and director tax obligations in tax audits, and provides guidelines on how tax obligations should be enforced. Let us first examine when board of director or company directors are treated as employees. In this case, the director will be subject to tax on salary in alignment with the existing tax provisions. A natural person is deemed as an employee if two of the following conditions are met. 1, the person bears no risk of not being paid, provided that that person has come to work at the designated place and has performed their work as stipulated in the employment contract, regardless if the employment contract being made is oral or in writing. 2, the person cannot independently set the time and location to perform their work. 3, the person does not need to spend their personal capital to buy tools or equipment necessary for their work performance. Or 4, the person does not work simultaneously for multiple employers. In other words, they have exclusivity to one company at a time. Again, if any of these two conditions are met, the board of director or company director is deemed as an employee and is subject to tax on salary. If these criteria are not met, payments for their services are treated as independent services and will be subject to withholding tax. Regardless of where the salary originates, both resident and non-resident employees are subject to monthly tax on salary. For resident employees, tax on salary is imposed on both Cambodian-sourced and foreign-sourced salary, as well as on cash advances and loans. For non-resident employees, tax on salary is imposed on Cambodian-sourced salary. If a board of director or company director is working for a company in Cambodia, including temporary assignments or a secondment, and receives salary for performing such work, it is subject to tax on salary, regardless of where the salary is dispatched. Resident persons receiving foreign-sourced salaries who have paid tax in their home country can claim tax credits in Cambodia to offset tax on salary liability. A board of director member or company director is exempt from tax on salary under the following conditions. 1, is represented in the enterprise's memorandum and articles of association or tax patent, but does not have any daily executive roles in the enterprise in Cambodia. 2, their roles are limited to attending the occasional meeting of the board of directors or shareholder meetings. 3, does not receive any salary from the enterprise in Cambodia. The instruction does not explicitly address if in this case there is a withholding tax exemption, if tax on salary is exempt, if the board of director or company director simply have their names registered on legal documents, do not provide any actual consulting services, and do not receive payments, the case can be made not to allocate expenses or impose withholding tax related to their position as director. Let's now review the case where a member of the board of directors or company director is not serving as an employee. A board of director member or company director who are not employees of the company but perform work, whether as a resident or non-resident person performing such work for a company in Cambodia, is subject to withholding taxes on services as prescribed under Article 25 and 26 of the Law of Taxation. Non-resident persons paid for services are subject to 14% withholding tax. Resident persons paid for services are subject to 15% withholding tax. Companies should review this instruction and assess the tax obligations of members of the board of directors or company directors to ensure correct classification and application of tax on salary. This has been Anthony Galliano for B2B Cambodia with a tax explainer.